Oh, hello, Shadow Players. Welcome to the stream. You'll have to forgive me. I am really nervous at the moment, so I'm just hoping to just get into it and uh, just start having fun. So, this is the thing. This stream. The donation link is down below for the leave. Hopefully, the no Streamlab link, like an idiot, I logged into the Streamlabs and that totally fucked everything up. So, let me turn this down just a little, just a tad. I feel like I feel like I'm shouting with it. Um, so make sure you go to the link that says donate here. That will take you straight to Tiltify for the campaign. Our campaign is stories for meals. We are just it's simple 150 is what we're aiming for today. So we are benefiting Central World Kitchen, and what they do is they feed families in the midst of crisis, bringing. I have kind of read out right here that I'm looking at. Everything else is kind of hard because I'm nervous, so I need to have sort of a little bit of a cheat sheet, I guess. Um, Central Wood Kitchen is first on the front line providing meals in response to humanity, climate, and community crisis. They provide not only nourishment but also comfort and hope, especially in time of crisis. And I've seen what they do in real time. I've gone to food banks and I've needed help from them, so this is kind of one of the ones that mean a lot to me because like I want to give back for getting help. So and I wanted to do something extra special this year, and that's by reading a personal story that I have. So, and I've been standing here for the past like hour, just like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But it's that entire thing of it's like it's a good stress. It's a good one. I felt it before, and I felt it when I went on stage. So it's a good stress, and hopefully it stayed that way. And hopefully when I start reading, I can just get into the routine and read through. And I will come back every so often because I have breaks in the story where I will like take a drink, give my voice a little bit of a break, and then we'll talk about the charity, and then we'll get back into it. But I have donations open also on my other computer, on my other monitor. So jump over there. I would be able to see if that goes through, and that's why I didn't want to have the phone on, so I just pulled it out. And that's also one reason why we're not going to have music while I read, so I can move from the computer a little bit. But yeah, I think we'll just get into it. I'm not very good at just riffing off stuff. I really want to get much more confident with doing it, so having me do this right now, just jumping into it and going forth is helping me just when I plan to do something, I go out and do it. So, and what better way to do it than for charity when people need help? So, but we beside me, I have the cover art for this section of the story. And so this is the story that we're gonna be reading. I'm probably pointing to the wrong, yeah, I'm pointing to the wrong direction, but um, god damn, this is nerve wracking. I'm excited though. I so am. So I'm going to lay down some stuff about the story, then once I pick up my phone to start reading, I would turn off the music, and it would just be me reading to you, because that's how the story is meant to be told. I have certain rules for this story, not only in the way of how the gates work, but also how the story is supposed to be represented. Since I am reading a canon version of the story, it is not supposed to be, it is not meant to be visually shown, like on a TV screen or any type of screen. It is meant to be read or acted out in a play format. The only way this canon story is meant to be shown. What I did earlier this month to kind of just get the story out there, I took a little bit that wasn't canon, that was kind of an offshoot, and so I could show a little bit with visual and stuff, so I was fine with doing that, but I'm going to be reading a canon portion of the story. And I want to stay true to my rules, so this is how it's going to be done. But the rules here in this story we are not in our realm. Something may match up, but others won't. And one of the biggest ones is, of course, the gates, but the other one is music does not exist. There is no music in existence at the time that the bedtime story is told, which is in 1970. So that is the year that we're in. We are in 1970. Well, I need to look at my notes, and we are in the month of Heaven's Bay. And as I read, you will understand kind of where it matches up we are. So, oh my god, I'm so nervous. I hope this goes well. I just really hope this goes well, because for me, stories represent hope. You can when you read stories or listen to stories, you just get lost in that world. You forget about what's going on, and it's an escape for just a little bit of time to reprieve from what's going on around you. So hopefully I can grant that when I'm reading this story, and the rest of the story that I plan to tell over the course of the next couple of years. So, and I don't think there's anything else that I need to set up. Everything else is in the story itself. Because I'm treating it as if this is the first time of me telling, of course. Because normally when this story is told, there is previous knowledge of the gates as opposed to not having any knowledge. But I think with how I have it set up, I think I can understand just a little bit of what's going on. I mean, full understanding is not meant to come with just this story in itself. This is a whole different monster that is the bigger picture within it. So I think we're just gonna get into it, and I have it here on my phone, so that's the only way I can do it, so I am able to be up and move around and not staring at my screen. So, oh god. Here we go. Let's start this. Um, so what I didn't mention is beside me the Dirk Slack. That is Cena, which is the language I've created for this world. It is it's Cena for curse. So that is the main overarching title for this bedtime story. It's called Curse. So let me turn off the music. I know it's going to be weird without having any music going, but I want to be able to be calm and be able to read this through and not have to worry about rushing along with music, even though I won't be able to hear it. And hopefully nobody called me. That's always my thing. So there is a total of, I believe there is 9 chapters, and this story runs, it's 29 pages. So it's a short story. So I don't think it'll be very long if I don't rush through it. I want to be able to be calm and have fun when I'm reading it, bring it to life in a sense. So here we go. Foregone in our lifetime, the stage was unknowingly set for that is present. This tale, hidden under the guise of fantasy, in an attempt to shield your mind from the true horrors. Mother and I, with heavy hearts, have laid out the truth, so you will understand your world without shields. We have taught you the rules, the importance of the rule to stay on the straight and narrow. The lay of the land had changed. So sorry, my boy. To survive, you must try and trust and test boundaries. For once you have read the truth, more explanation will come after. Love you, son. Cornelius Michael Alexander Riggs is kneeling before a pirate chest with a name embossed in brass on the rounded lid. Holding the paper in his fist, he bowed his head, nose clogged with blood, and his left cheek is smeared with dry blood. With a deep breath, he begins. Erstwhile upon the gates, as one started tale in the language of the gates. Standing at the bottom of the carpeted staircase leading to the second floor of the Crawford home, a youngling, 13-year-old boy. His fine shoulder-length golden locks were in a mess about his warm face. His face was streaked with dirt and shining with drying sweat, dirt under nails, and jeans stained with grass and dirt. The residue of his day's adventures. Thin in frame, but his bright eyes hold his strength. Michael Rowland Crawford is the name of the boy. He is extremely imaginative. It was in itself a gift and a curse. The reason, because he knew about the gates of the mind, something that his older brother and dad did not understand. Michael Arcus Crawford was 3 years older than Michael. Ivy, the mom of Marshall and Michael, waited for Michael to turn 7 before trying to explain the gates and how they work and the importance of them. Marshall, like his father Balin, were simply too logical in their thinking. Belief is a principle that in a major player, many people do not hold the ability to understand the extent of the gates. The belief the belief that was needed for the gates was something that in the mind can be real to the extent one can physically enter and exist within. Michael took to it immediately. Ivy started with imaginary play, starting with toys at the tender age of 2.5. At 3, the toys were left in the box, and all the play would make believe. Narrating the adventure lovingly but flatly put forth by Ivy. By the time Michael reached the age of 7, he already had knowledge of the teaching of the Gate Hall, housing the Company of the Gates. For the last few years came the monstrous invention of the television, a thing that his mom had promised him. One of the poison boxes of horror would not come into the house. Michael had questioned that, not tellingly, but in curiosity. Ivy had left the explanation to the company's master. Ivy and Michael, age 10 at the time Michael was. Ivy had opened the gates to the guild hall. The gate was surrounded in a wild yet tame brown flame with a hue of yellow. They came out within a 10-foot wide circle of 5 inches of deep pressed gray stone. It was in the center of a bright green leafy lawn with thick bushes marking the small property line. Ahead of them, the back doors of the guild hall, 4 leveled and very square, also very real. Mom? Michael asked, a bit on the worried side. Ivy led her boy out of the stone circle and knelt in front of him. Michael, this is as real as it gets. We are in Stratford-upon-Avon, Worcestershire, the heart of England. This is the guild hall, housing and teaching for the company of the gates. This is the only gate that works as a teleporter that is free of the gate's rules. To return home, you must picture the house within the stone circle. As Michael reflected on the first trip to the gate hall that his mom let him go alone so he could talk to the guild master. The word of the master repeated in his mind as the box of horrors would be set up in the house. Marshall was bouncing around with excitement, and Balin, in a raised voice, was telling him to cool it. Child, the television is for them who can't make use of the mind to see. I'd watch, becoming addicted to moving images. Remember, 'tis well does narrate, shall decry one who art cursed with weak mind. For they spy us and think us odd. Michael took a number of deep breaths to calm himself. The sad betrayal was great, and to see his mom helping set it up, a tear ran down his cheek. Again, taking another deep breath. He then thought of his best friend, Roger Cornelio Wilt. As an only child and his parents were workaholics, they bought the television a month ago. And with the help of Michael and Ivy, learned the gate. For the last month, Roger and Michael spent a great deal of time together. I am curious about it, that's all, as much as I fear it, Roger said, taking whilst talking one time after exiting the gate. Michael just looked hurt and opted to say nothing. It was his choice after all. It was at this moment Ivy turned and saw him. He left she left her husband and eldest son and approached him. Mike? Her voice was soft and sweet, but her smile was sad. Michael shook his head. You said that one would never come into this house. His voice was quiet yet stern. Come here. Ivy led him to the dining room table out of direct view of the other two. What else do they have? Pointing in the direction of Balin and Marshall. Master told me that it was dangerous. It was danger to us. As we trust our mind after seeing projected imagery, we can lazy and lose our minds. You are not required to acknowledge it, she said, looking at her son's hurt but stern face. Eventually. No. Michael cut her off. I do not want to hear that. There will be no eventually. Roger had remained strong for a month, and now we would do this together. Ivy was near tears, to which her son missed in anger. He must have a will still. Her voice was riddled with guilt. This Michael caught, his eyes narrowed. You've given up. I'm getting too old, and I hate leaving your dad. The gates were nice. A pause. Ivy looked at her son with depth. I have no need for them anymore. Ivy held her tongue against what she truly wanted to say, what was on her mind. Michael was startled by this proclamation. You can't. The main gate is dying as it is. This was spoken a bit too loud. Honey? Bentley called from the living room. Everything okay? Yeah, she said. Then she held her lips. She held a finger to her lips. It is up to you and Roger to teach and never forget to see. Something deep and barely noticeable stirred within Michael as he stared into his mom's sad eyes. What was coming? The question formed in his head. Ivy placed her hand on Michael's shoulder and looked him squarely in the face. The look was the one of a serious talk look. Michael, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Michael nodded, his heart now in the hollow pit of his stomach. What happened beyond the now forbidden fence? What fence? Where is it? Michael asked, keeping a giddy curiosity as prevalent as possible. Ivy glared. You know which one. There's only one explanation as to how a forest just sprung up suddenly where an expanse of turf used to be. This came out fast, accompanied by a look of great panic. Michael stayed silent, holding a thunderstruck look, as the hand on his shoulder grew slightly heavier. That is one of the rules. It is danger to open a gate on our plane. Her eyes bore, searching for the hidden truth, a truth that she would never find. Mom, it isn't mine, I swear. Michael's response was steady and clear of guilt, but a whole hint of curiosity. She leaned back, steadying him. Truly? Truly. The hands were getting very uncomfortable on his shoulders. Promise me that you and Roger will not go over the fence. Promise, Michael said, cautiously passed Mom carefully to ears. You can go to your room now. No need to stand at the stairs. She smiled and kissed his forehead. I love you, Mom. Michael turned quickly and in long strides went up the stairs. Once in his room, back against the closed door, he let out a rickety breath. There was a yellow light coming from a single window of the next house. The light was from Roger's room. Michael took his walkie-talkie from his desk on the other side of the room in a little alcove beside the closet. Standing at the window, Bolly Gallia to Astro Hickson. Come in, over. He released the talk button. Bolly Gallia and Astro Hickson were the name of the azaleas that they become when they go over the fence. Astro to Bolly, I am here, over. Roger's voice came over the walkie-talkie. We are going back tomorrow. We need to destroy it, Michael said. We've exhausted every idea on that front, Roger said. Not every idea. There is one last one, Michael said. The thin curtains are nearly ripped down as Roger cast them aside and he threw open the window, looking terrified. Michael calmly opened his window. It is the only way. We barely escaped last time, and we were just in the forest. Tomorrow you want to get to the castle without weapons or armor? He said in a frantic whisper. I have tried everything to reverse what we did, and you know well I won't let it go in weaponless. He then added quietly, You don't have to come. Roger gave him a stern look. Michael, brother. I may not like the idea, but I'm not about to let you go over alone. Tomorrow, 10, at the fence. I'll be there. As Roger withdrew into a room and pulled the curtains, Michael remained at a window. Late in the late summer night air hit and caressed his flushed face. He was a liar and a betrayer, and was ashamed of how he spoke to his mom about the television. Michael knew what he had done, and even though it took a month for his mom to mention the chain beyond the forbidden fence, the idea had been floating in his head. Now, with his mom's reaction, he had him deeply considering the idea. Michael looked up at the half moon surrounded by small twinkling lights. He nodded and his mind was made up. He crawled into a bed for one last time to sleep. The very first rule is to never open the gate onto our plane. However, it is difficult to do. One must be able to verbalize the combination, truth of words, belief in mysticism, and overall power of mind. It is hard to accomplish, like entering the main gate is a challenge. Once a gate is brought forth, it is hard to destroy. The light from the rising sun awoke Michael from a restless sleep. Getting up with weary eyes and an even and an even wearier heart, he quietly got ready. Out of his closet, he pulled out a large duffel bag and his black adventure backpack. Open. Roger owns its twin. With his adventure pack already packed, he slung it over his back and packed his duffel. Michael Michael was saddened with the decision to run, ashamed. But whether he destroyed Lost Trail or not, he couldn't affect his mom. He figured it'd be best to just disappear. After the duffel was packed, he went downstairs for food. Michael planned to throw the duffel out his window and into the bushes below. And after today's adventure, no matter the outcome, he would say farewell to Roger, collect his duffel, and leave. No one was up as he made his way down to the kitchen and went straight to the bar cupboard. He grabbed a handful of protein bars, fruit bars, and cereal bars. Even with the large amount he just helped himself to, none of his family would notice, as they mostly opened the door and blindly reach or empty another box into the cupboard. Swinging his pack off his shoulders, and with one holding it open, and using his other arm to sweep all the bars into the bag, along with the rope, a journal, and a map of Lost Trail. Well, only what they got before they were attacked, and that was 2 weeks ago, on their second time being there since bringing the gate forth. He took one of the cereal bars and ate it as he go back to his room. He saw a red bandana half sticking out of the top dresser drawer. Acting on pure instinct, he pulled it free from the drawer and stuffed it in his back pocket. After he divided the bars among the two bags, 10 in each, he dropped the duffel over the window and there the knock at the door. Michael jumped and quickly reached over and shut his closet door. With his bedroom door open, Michael, Ivy's quiet voice came. You up? Yeah, Mom. Michael picked up the walkie-talkie that he left on the floor under her window and turned it off. She fully entered his room in a nightgown and her arms folded in front of her. Michael walked to his bed and slid the walkie-talkie into the side mesh pocket. Looks like you're gearing up for quite an adventure. There was a hint of jealousy in her voice, and a look of longing on her tired face. Michael felt a stab of panic. Yeah, well, we are hoping not, but we are thinking that this might be our last chance to go on a long adventure before school starts. She smiled sadly, nodding. Well, you go have fun, and you have my permission to stay out after dark. Only if Roger is with you. Cool, thanks, Mom. Michael put on a cheery act when he wanted to either vomit or cry, or both. When she left, Michael could breathe again. He looked at the time on his alarm clock, 8:16. He picked up the walkie again, turned it on, and pressed the Morse code button once. And he waited. At 8:20, he gets two beeps in reply. Astro Hickson, ready to go early, over. I am over. Let's go, over now. Michael swung his pack over his shoulder, took one last look around his room, and walked out. There was a nice early morning chill to the air, that greeted Michael as he exited the house. Nevertheless, the warmth of the summer won't let it linger long. The sky was clear and it was going to be hot. Michael! Roger called from the front path. Roger was a broader version of Michael. Other than having short blonde hair, they could pass as twins. Michael waved and jogged over to him, taking note of the hesitated look on Roger's face. Raj, are you okay? You still want to do this? It is partially my fault that Lost Stratum exists. I was giving ideas. Roger would not a quick as Michael when it came to spinning stuff on a dime. Then come on, let's go. They walked to where Dunn Drive met the paved dead-end road. To the left, a mile and a half to the town of Highgate, Idaho. However, Michael and Roger's destination was to the right, a quarter of a mile that ended in a very steep slope and at the base of a 9-foot wooden fence. Michael looked to Roger and he looked over his shoulder to see if there were any prying eyes on them. Seeming to be clear, he looked at Roger. Let's go, Astro. Roger smiled a small smile and they ran toward the slope. How many people do you think can enter the gates of the mind? Roger asked, trying to keep a conversation going in the awkward silence. I don't know, Michael said. My mom taught me, but her grandpa and aunt taught her. So it's not a genetic thing? No, it's more of a knack. Michael would consider telling Roger that after today he would no longer be around. The fact that they were going on an adventure, though it was one of serious and great risk. It was the spirit of adventure, their last one together, he didn't want to spoil. So, Bolly, what is the plan? Well, Astro, when we get over the fence, I will get our weapon and we will steal into the castle and slay Cynric the High. If something goes wrong, and I tell you to leave, you do it. Roger stopped and put his hand on Michael's arm. Abandon you? What do you know? Roger asked with narrow eyes. He learned over the adventure that Michael had a very keen instinct. I know that it's going to get hairy when we go in, sword drawn. If and when it gets bad, and if you have a shot to escape, you take it without a second thought, Michael said. The fault is not on you alone, and I am going to make sure you don't pay the ultimate price. We are going to cross over together, and we'll come back as both still drawing breath, Roger proclaimed. Roger patted Michael patted Roger's arm, smiling and nodded. Halting at the top of the slope, they stared at the endless mile of the forest that blanketed the land beyond the fence. I hope you guys can hear me. I just realized that. I'm just been going on. What? Michael breathed in surprise. Michael? Roger looked out trying to see what Michael saw. What is it, Michael? What did you see? He scanned the area again. Expanded. Roger, now with a keen eye, looked again. Still unable to see the difference. In what way? Michael put an arm around Roger's shoulder, holding him close and pointing. To the right, there are now heights. To the left there is more forest. Michael explained in a high voice and wide eyes. If it is expanding territories, how can it? But you think there are more people? Hmm. Like anything, it needs to grow, Michael said. Michael, we're thinking out loud. There shouldn't be more people than was allotted. Than the allotted was set when we laid down the law. That was there was only, and what Michael hoped was still, Cendric the High, a dungeon master, the creature of the forest, Narsa, and a total of 9 bondmen, looking at the slope and then at each other. Remember how to get over? Yeah. At the same time, and hopefully we'll get over first try. Roger had a smirk on his lips. Michael puffed out of breath and swinging his arms. Go. The slope was set at a 75-degree angle. It took extreme balance and trust in one's own body to stay on one's feet. However, Michael and Roger were not just trying to keep their feet to the bottom. Where they would surely bounce off the fence, yet they were unable to stop on their own accord. They were going to jump from the slope to grab the top of the fence. Beginning with one long stride using the forward pull of gravity, they pushed off with the same foot and same hand outstretched. Hands gripped the rough wooden fence as their body collided with it. It wobbled, but they don't lose grip. Hunting their feet and other hand upon the fence. Like a flawless synchronous dance, they swing their feet over and plant on the other side and push off the fence and turn in midair, land in the roll on the soft foliage. The threat of the hot summer was replaced by the coolness that comes with being in the high mountains. The soft soil beneath their feet, and shaded by dense treetops. They were at the head of the escape gate, which they named Lost Trail. Michael removed his shoulder pack. Here, he tossed a protein bar to Roger, then pulled out the map and journal. Thanks, Roger catches the bar. Michael unrolled the map and opened the journal. The map was drawn with the fence at the bottom left-hand corner and expanded out diagonally in a diagonal layout. The journal held a legend of sorts. The map displayed only 8 miles of forest, which amount to nothing now. So Astro Hexen, are you up for the task? Michael asked. Roger continued chewing the bite, looked about, and swallowed. Tried to storm the castle. It worked so good last time. Roger moved to the back seat of his mind and let Astro Hexen take over. One the new shouter turned adventurer with a tendency to fall insecure quickly. He scoffed. And for what? To rid the land of manipulative and savage ruler? Sorry. I still don't know why only we are plagued with this quest. In Roger's turn from the map to face his companion, Lolly Gallia was fully alive. A quest bearer with nobody a place to call home. He and Astro fell in together. Together they pick on each other, but they are indebted to one another. We? Plagued? Shall I revisit how it went from mine to our quest? A quest placed upon our shoulders in good trust. These seem to have forgotten that I saved thee from the wrath. Balia, Bali spat. Astro folded his arms and scowled, holding his tongue. Alright? So that was chapter 1, The Fence. We are on to chapter 2, Anger in the Forest. Of course I choke on drink. But so don't forget we are God damn. We are here for Central Board Kitchen. The donation is in the link below. And hopefully I get more relaxed as I read. I'm sorry, I'm not really moving around. Oh god. It's so nerve-wracking being able to read my own stuff out loud. And I hope it's coming across. And I'm truly sorry if it's not. But this is fun though. This is so much fun. So and what I should have said at the start, any question pertaining to the story, I will not be answering because this is going to be a rough version of what the finished one will be. It will be better written and stuff. Kid, I never know where to place this in the story. It needs to be there, but I never know where to put it, so it's always jumping around. But it is a very important piece of the puzzle to this entire story. So, yeah. Okay, I don't think I'm choking anymore, so I think we should get back into it. And I do apologize when they slip into Old English. I'm not well rehearsed in reading those quite yet, so it may be not as fluent, but I'm trying. All right. Chapter 2, Anger in the Forest. Bali Galia put the map in the journal away, then resumed the pack on his shoulders. Shall I continue forth to call a weapon for thee, or shall I even bother? Yeah. Astro, if Astro didn't have good self control, he would have throttled Bill right there. Right then, for being so self sacrimonious. Be warned, it'd be good to watch thy tongue against me. He narrowed his eyes. Or shall I remind you that if it weren't for me, thee one morning would have woken up dead. Astro grinned at Valia's sudden downcast eyes. A long sword. And why had thee never wielded said power against another individual, or even in a sticky situation? Bali waited for such a question. It is a code of rightful usage, to aid in preparation, not to override fate's path. His eyes were narrow. Galia raised his hands to about eye level, palms outturned, feet relaxed in preparation to to memorize, to memorize. His hands in a soft moved in a soft, sweeping motion as he spoke, captivate, captivating the power to come forth. I call upon the power of the mind. The voice that comes from his throat causing goose flesh to rise on Astro's naked arms. He was so entranced by the sweeping, strained vocalization, the magnificent were being produced. It was nothing that he'd ever heard before. I require a blade of the sharpest of steel, yet short, to move about quickly. If the mysticism would be so kind as to grant me another. This blade must be long and fitted for a knight about to charge into battle. Balia's eyes are closed and hands moving in slow, long motions. Right before him, two gleaming swords appear. Astro has seen this done many times. However, something was different this time, frightening yet comforting, within the emotional rich voice. This voice reached Roger, who knew that the voice was hidden within Michael, waiting to be found and freed. Well, these done it again, Astro said in a tired tone, trying not to put on the he was captivated. Baldy opened his eyes and smiled. Pick up your arms, leg pushed forth. Grabbing their respective weapons from their suspended places, the hilts were cold and heavy in their hands, granting the sense of confidence as they trudged onward to a said castle, one of which they had never set eyes upon. A mile from the place where they were attacked by Nissa and had to withdraw, something that wasn't there last time was in front of them. They stopped each other 50 feet away in fear of what lurked in it or around it. Looking at each other, still mentally trying to figure out why they were traveling together. Part of likeness in the outcome of the quest is the winner in this arena. Think it was that creature? Astro whispered. Hard to say, Valia said, starting to approach the hole in the ground. He had his sword drawn and his step was careful. Astro followed 2 feet behind, eyes and ears sharp. The hole was a decent size and too perfect for hand or claw. Volley didn't want to guess that loud, but it was dug by mysticism until he saw the depth. He was not liking the sudden appearance of the hole along the path that they have traveled once before. At least he hoped there were hold on. At least he hoped they were the only outsiders, which stirred Michael. This thought stirred Michael. Valia is able to suppress the stir. Michael was not attempting to override Bale, for it was his world. The thought ran deeper to affect the dormant host. Now he was standing at the edge of the hole. The dark abyss seemed to stare back, and Valia jumped back as again Michael lurched uneasily. What in the Valia trailed off, checked himself. What? Scared of the dark? Asked Ortiz. Shut it. Valia meant to be strong and firm. Instead, it came out soft. It is just unnerving, like evil mysticism did this. Astro looked over the side and huffed. So it looks like we're going to bypass the dark hole, he said with a smirk. Valia had to fight every urge to push Astro into the abyss. Knock off the humor. Knock off the humor, the git. Sour mood, Bale? Astro played. Go, leave. I wash my hand of thee. Fine. And with your left leg, see if I care if these fall on your face. Bully pointed his sword. Leave, he growled. Throw up his hands. Turned and walked away. Valia sheathed his sword and walked around the hole and continued to the castle. Toward the castle. Astro was huffing and puffing about how right Valia Gallia was, and how he couldn't wait till they meet again because he will draw his sword too. He figured he could do what the assassin failed to do if he had stepped in. As he walked, he wasn't minding his footing and tripped and fell among the foliage. Indeed, Rodder. Astro cursed with a chuckle. Pushing himself to his knees, his eye caught something. Leaning forward where he knelt, working his hand in the tangle of foliage to the thing that was half buried in the soil. Upon pulling it free, to discover it was a piece of parchment, and it had this written upon it. A reward for the life capture of betrayer Valia Gallia. Vali Gallia. Amount of 1,000 coin. Valia Gallia brought to the castle of Senrita High and payment upon proof of life. Astro crumpled the note between his locking hands, shaking, glancing over his shoulder, lips pulling back from his teeth, forming a grin. Well, Valia, what are you hiding behind your power and self-righteousness? He stood and stalked off in the direction he came. I need to move around. I'm too fucking stiff, but I don't know what to do. I mean, I know what to do. I'm just want to be able. You can hear me, and if I move too much, I stumble my words. So, all right. We had a small little break. It was a scene change. So, Bolly was kneeling with the journal open, where he was scribing about the whole and how something inside him did not like it. Side and outside. Once the quest is complete, I must come back and see what's what. Simon coming through. Folding the journal and replacing it in a pack. In the midst of returning it to his bag, to it back. And in one fell swoop, the pack ripped from his hand, and he hit face down in the ground, with a tickle of cold steel at the nape of his neck. The words that are spoken hit him as if he would run through with a sword. Who have you betrayed after you memorized your power? God. A lot of stuff going on outside. I'll read that one again. Who have you betrayed after you memorize them with your power? Astro Hexen? Body of words were muffled in the massive foliage that obscured his face. Don't sound surprised. I found out the truth before you had a chance to betray again. Very slowly, Bale moving his right hand to the hilt of his sword. Nothing to say, huh? You are worth more alive. But should the turn become unruly, duh. Let me reread that one again. That one fucked me up. Nothing to say, huh? You are worth more alive. But should they become unruly, I will strike thee down. The tickle was replaced by a shoe in his side. I've lost my spot. Hard enough that Bale rolled to it back. And then his sword in his hand. I have not betrayed anyone. Bale quickly got to his feet. They both stand there, sword ready, staring, waiting. You are not good at humor. We seem to be in a stalemate, yet I wish not to kill you. If indeed you can offer a larger amount than is set for thee, I might just look the other way. Just what is the set amount? Valia asks. After taking the Senric and life is there, 1,000 coin. What? Valia asks. Come on, Galia. Tell me who you betrayed. Valia just looked hurt at him. Just looked at it, feeling hurt. You are being fed a lie. Astro Hexen's hand tightened around the hilt of his sword, and he straightened up to where his back started to hurt. No, I will not fall to your deceptive power like all the others. Galia's anger extended. He is not about to be taken in for a setup and fed to someone already angry with him. Then they have figured out how this is going to end. Bali tightened the grip on the sword. I am not going willingly. Astro lunges at Valia, who spins to the side and elbows him in the back. Astro stumbles, and his heel turned. Though his swing was clumsy, he managed to slice the back of Valia's right hand. Either the cry of pain from Galia, or the blood oozing from the cut and painting the greenery below. Roger's eyes are wide with horror, and with paralyzed in surprise, he had jumped forth too late. Body checks him. He falls as he does. He falls. He falls and does his sword fall from his hand. Vali takes the fallen sword in his left hand and its own sword is coated with his own blood. His heart is pounding in his chest and his ears. His eyes seeing only red and his enemy on the ground staring at him. Vali brandished both swords, looking at the fear-stricken face of Roger. So now we are on chapter 3, Michael and Roger. And it's funny. Hold on. And it's funny as I'm reading this, I'm picking up on stuff that I could do to make it a lot more easier to understand. So I'm taking that into account for the next time when I go through and work on it again. Because some of the stuff you may be confused, but then again, most of the stuff will be explained later in more detail. So I just hope it's coming through. Hope you guys are understanding it because of course I know the story and stuff. So I just hope it's understand. I hope you guys can understand it. Oh God, but it's so fun. Just the I don't know. There's something about it that I absolutely just love, and I hope you guys are too. But we are once again we are benefiting Central World Kitchen for Thankmas. They provide food to community in crisis and provide comfort and hope with healthy meals. So any money donated is going to them, and the link is down below. It should be the only link down there should be donate here. If the Streamlab link, don't click on that. Do not click on that. Go to donate here and go to Tiltify and do it that way. But this is my way of doing something more than just sitting down and playing a game. I want to give hope in my own way, and through telling stories, you can relieve the tension or stress by having people just disappear for a while into a story. And so that's what I hope I can provide with this. So, and it's a lot more personable because it's the story that I wrote, part of a much bigger story, but it's the bedtime story, the darker version of the bedtime story. But yeah, so we work out my legs a little bit, and then we'll go on to chapter 3. We're trucking right along. I'm also trying to do it kind of quickly so my phone didn't die on me because I have no way to charge it when I'm here. So I'm kind of screwed for that. And I don't want to be sitting down when I do this. I want to be standing up so I can at least move around a little bit. I know I'm not moving around as much, but I do have the freedom to move if I want to. I also am trying to make sure that you guys can hear me. Especially when I'm reading, I tend to get a little bit quiet. So I hope it's all coming across clear. I'm sorry if it's not. I do apologize. But let's start with chapter 3. Michael and Roger. Finally, Roger is able to speak. Michael, come forth, please. Roger would look into the face of the one who had one that had tasted blood, and will stop at nothing till he gets more. Both the swords were dangling above him. He was too aghast to move out from under him. Bali stumbled backwards, the sword dropping harmlessly to the floor, or to the ground. Falling to his hand and knee, breathing in chest heaving breath. Are you okay, Roger? Michael asked in between breaths. Roger breathed in relief. Yes. How about you? Michael looked at his hand. Michael looked at his hand and it was breathing and it was still bleeding pretty good. He held it up and took the bandana out of his pocket and tied it around his hand, cringing the entire time. What caused Astro to seize his urge to fight? Michael asked, face twisted in pain. I jumped forth in the middle of the turn. I landed the hit on your hand before I could stop or drop the sword. Michael nodded. I tried to come forth, but Bale's rage was strong enough to suppress me. I would have come forth a lot sooner, but I know that we must let Lazalia be themselves in their gate. With us separating, I was nervous, Roger said. Yeah, the rule, yes. But did you feel that they were out of place? Michael had guilt in his voice. What is that, Mike? What is that, Mike? Roger asked, hearing the uneasiness in his voice. You remember when Bale jumped away from the hole? Yeah. How could I forget the reason for us splitting up? That was me reacting to something down there. I caused him to jump away and be stern with Astro. Roger nodded. Then, what do you mean by they felt out of place? Roger inhaled. Michael inhaled. It wasn't their place. That explained why they were extremely sharp than the other two times. Roger looked panicked. You mean it had become solidified in the real plane? Michael nodded. Yes. The prior two times the gate still held the gates of mind and mysticism. So there is only one way that we can destroy Lost Trail now. Roger studied him for a moment. This time Michael wore the ash on his sleeve. No, Michael, that can't be our last resort. Roger begged. We were too late. Since we are ourselves now, it is the only way. Well, if you have to, I am too, Roger said. Roger said this with such conviction it startled Michael. Roger. Michael started, but would cut off. No, don't. I helped. Roger bent his head and said in a low voice, I need you. This took Michael by surprise. What do you mean? Roger looked up with tears. You are my only friend, and you taught me the power of the mind. My saving grace for the last few weeks. Everyone around me is talking about television, and I've thought about just giving in. But then I thought of you and the gates and how they are losing power. That is what had been keeping me going. Michael felt like his heart was being ripped from his chest. I'm sorry. I had no idea. Roger shook his head. You weren't meant to see it. Please. Let's work on coming up with another idea to destroy this place while we sneak into the castle. Michael looked at him. Michael looked at him, lost. Come on, Mike. You are creative enough. Okay, I'll try to come up with an idea. Michael smiled, then looked at his hand. Then looked at his hand, yet it was throbbing badly. Here, Roger held out the piece of parchment. Michael took it and read it. It didn't settle with him. Vale is not a betrayer, Michael said to the parchment. The fact that it was found in Astropath did. A lot of questions formed at the moment. How did Cynric know about Polygalia? If it wasn't their place anymore, why hadn't they encountered Narsa? And probably the most troubling one of all, how did this place latch onto the real plane and able to grow? Roger was softly crying. Inside he was weeping, and it was making his body tremble as if he were cold. He couldn't let it happen, not just for the fact that he was his only friend. Not for the fact that Michael was his only friend, but because of what Michael's mom told him. Michael possesses a gift that will affect the world. He must discover it for himself. No matter if you see it, if he had told about it, he would be conscious of it, and it would be tainted because it would be forced to develop before its time. Roger, you must safeguard it. Roger knew that it had to do something with the voice. Michael looked at the parchment and saw that Roger was suddenly breaking down. Michael stared at him sadly, feeling great remorse. Roger, I am sorry. Michael was on the edge of telling Roger his plan, giving him a chance to spare Roger any more heartache later on. Roger spoke on. My parents think I'm hanging out with another kid in town. Michael was confused. What do you mean? You have to lie to hang out with me? For the last 2 weeks, Roger painfully admitted. Remember when we went to the Valley of the Bridges? Yeah, that is a pretty good game. Michael remembered that it was Roger's first game. We were in our backyard when I imagined the game. Well, we weren't being as careful as we thought we were when we used the power at my house. My parents saw us disappear. Michael turned away in thought, remembering yet another warning. Another warning from his mom. Did they ever ask about it? No. They just told me that you were no good for me to be hanging out with. But they were and still are leery of me. I want to explain so I don't have to lie about my continued friendship with you. As it is just me, I thought they might have me locked away and then come for you. If that did happen, my mom would jump in. Michael then realized how bad that could have gotten. To the left, they hear the rustling of foliage. Michael and Roger reached behind where the swords were, hands patting blindly, and not feeling still. They turned to see how far off they were, only to discover that the swords were not there. Roger gasped. It hadn't been 6 hours yet. Can't trust time within the mind. Quoting his mom, we need to move. Standing up, and before they could start to move, they are grabbed and held at bay by swords. Before they are blinded, Roger looked at Michael. with eyes begging him, please don't do it. We are on to chapter 4, The Flickering Light. Oh my god. It's a different when you're reading it loud apart to reading it in your mind when you're editing. So some of the sentences are not forming correctly. So I do apologize if I stumble, but I am getting kind of loose with not being nervous about it. But it also sucks that I'm holding my phone. I don't want to drop it or move it, and I have to keep scrolling up because I'm moving way too fast. But I can't just be with the story. But please stretch. I didn't think that we would move this far along. It's fun though. I'm having a blast doing this. I just hope it's translating good. That's all I hope. Because it's one thing to be able to hear it, and then I hope that it is complete enough that you can follow along. And then it also is backing you. I don't have the actual text in front of you to be able to regurgitate yourself. So God dang, there's a lot of movement outside today. Sound of police cars honking and grinding of gears. And it's also something because I've read through it so many times. This story I've read and rewritten so many times, but reading it out loud and trying is affirming some stuff in my mind. So it's actually helping me a little bit, kind of clean it up a bit. So, but oh god, all right. Chapter floor. Yes, floor. Chapter 4, The Flickering Light. Alright, let's get that there. The hood was removed from Roger's head as he was tossed into a cell, crashing hard to the stone floor. He heard the he heard the heavy door shut and locked. Don't get any ideas, Avra's voice speaks. I am the dungeon master, and no one escaped on my. Roger listened to the heavy footsteps fade into the distance. He slowly got to his feet. The cell was cold and dark. The only light coming was from a small horizontal slit in the door. Not warm torchlight as expected in the dungeon. Instead, it was cold white light of a full moon on a clear summer night. One of Michael's special touches. Roger approached the thick wooden door and hit his fist against it. He was hurt, emotionally hurt. All he could do was think about Michael, and with him not being there to convince him that he needs to survive this. Something softly, something softly shifted in the dark behind him. He jumped and turned. Who was there? He tried to hold his voice steady as he pressed him back to the door. Please, sir, don't be frightened. An equally frightened voice of a girl rose from the dark. Roger relaxed instantly. Who are you? His voice was calm and steady. The sound of bare feet on the stone preceded the sight of a young girl shuffling out of the dim light. Her face was dirty and weary, wearing a pair of a filthy overall with a black t-shirt. Her hair long and matted. Her hair long and in a matted knot down her back. They just stared at each other for a long while. The girl is looking as if he will fade should she get any closer. Roger's heart throbbed in the chest. She is beautiful, but also how did she become trapped here, and how long? Are you really real? She was almost crying. Yes. Roger reached out to her. Roger reached out his hand to her, but she recoiled a bit. Then slowly reached up with her own hand. As soon as their fingertips touched, tears fell from her eyes, and she collapsed into his arms. You are the warmth of life is so nice compared to the slightly cold touch of the one I have called. She stopped at that point and glanced up at Roger, and was surprised to see him looking at her with a genuine understanding. Her expression changed to wonder. What? She sensed there was something he was to say. Nothing. Roger didn't want to overwhelm her. What is your name? Emily. I am Roger, and I hate to push past the pleasantries, but I need to know how often this door would open. Once a day, to give me food. Roger walked to the door. It would open a bit before you were thrown in, Emily remarked. I was afraid of that. He shouts through the slit in the door. Michael! His hand fell. He felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to meet Emily's fearful and curious look. Crawford? She knew she would bat 1,000 to have asked. Yes. Was there a problem? Yes, what's the problem? Roger asked, even more panic rising. When I would discover roaming around the dungeon just after it just appeared around me, the dungeon master took me before Cynric the High. He demanded that I give him Michael Crawford for my freedom. What does he want with him? Roger asked. I don't know. But there is a way out of the cell into the next one that is unlocked. Maybe together we can find a way out. Yeah. We're having the scene change. We're with Michael now. I feel like I read that one kind of fast. I do apologize. I need to take it slow because I feel my voice is starting to get a little bit tense. So you might sense a change in my voice a little bit. So I'm sorry about that. Okay. All right. Uh, Michael had to shut his eyes to get the torchlight. His hands are bound behind him. There was a hand leading him by the back of his shirt. His eyes adjusted to the light, and he was able to take his surroundings. At the end of an elongated throne room, Elegant pillars glistened in the torchlight. Sorry, I'm distracted by notification coming through. Uh, Elegant pillar glistened in the torchlight that glowed along the back wall behind them. Down the center of the room lay a long emerald carpet. Heading up the carpet was a large with a thick white marble throne, with a strand of emerald and green crimson swirling together. Upon the throne sat him, Cynric the High, clothed in a poncho of the same color as the throne. His face locked in a constant smug smile, and his dark eyes were staring into Michael as soon as he entered the throne room. Cynric flipped his long silver hair out of his face with one large hand. Bring him forth. His voice was thick and resonating. Michael allowed himself to be led along the carpet. Keep his promise, he kept still and just stayed aware of the pain in his hand. Cynric's eyes were searching for fear, though Michael, on the inside, was cowering like a scared child. It never reached his face. You are not afraid, young man. To show fear with one hand, are bound and guarded, the cowardly move. Michael countered with surprise at his own words. You speak without knowing my intentions. Michael was stopped a few feet from the throne. Where is my friend? Roger's voice was jumpy and he would jolt to a stop. Never mind him, Cynric said with a dismissive wave of his large, square hand. You are the one. I have a proposition for you. His smile sent a shiver down Michael's spine. Cynric stood. The power, the amazing ability you possess, both known and not. Cynric's voice was coaxing, and even the light from his eyes made him not as menacing, something he was not naturally good at. If I promise to leave everyone in your life alone, I want you to roll beside me. To become together, we can be the greatest and most feared names throughout the land. The last word echoed in the large domed room. The echo faded for the first time, and for the first time since entering the room, Michael broke eye contact and looked down. Fight or surrender? One thing he asked himself was if he felt that Cynric could hold to his promise. Humbug. He also knew that he would be no better than a prisoner. Michael re-established eye contact. Humbugger. His voice loud and strong. Cynric slightly recoiled. Beg pardon. His voice was so high it seemed to say, "Watch your word, youngling." What Cynric did next showed Michael that this was not the storybook. Expecting Cynric to go into a rage. He got angry, yes, but it dissolved into a grin that spoke volumes. They were pure conniving It was a pure conniving appearance of the smile that caused Michael the most fear he had ever felt in his life. Cynric descended from the throne, eyes as dark at the knight, daring Michael to give in and look away. Well, Michael Crawford. Henrik paused and smiled in delight as Michael exhaled in shock. Yes, I know your name. I also know a lot more. And you and I are in the same boat, both liars and betrayers. I will ask you again, or will you continue to fight me? However, if you choose, it will be a long and painful road for not only for you. Michael swallowed hard, still looking into the black eyes. My power is mine. I will fight you. I will fight you even after I have no fight left in me, aware that a statement called for trouble. Maybe this will help. Maybe this will help change your mind. In the black in the black eyes there in the black eye there appeared a single flickering candle. Something within Michael lurched, like it was trying to hide better. Michael held in pain and part surprise. All his strength vanished, and the hand that was holding the back of his shirt laid and fall to the ground. Senric leaned in close. The more you fight, the worse it will get. Take him to the dungeons. The scene once again has shifted. Roger and Emily wander the dungeon, finding many cells both locked and unlocked. To their dismay, they had not crossed the way out. Their hands locked together, with neither of them saying a thing. Then came a rumble, and the stone above them started to shift. Come on. Roger led them around the nearest corner. Once behind concealment, Roger peeked back around. The ceiling was making an incline, walking down with a bondman dragging a seemingly unconscious Michael. The bondman threw him in the nearest cell, locked it, then returned above, and the ceiling returned to normal. Roger ran to the cell. Michael? Michael laid on his side, hands still bound behind him. Michael, Roger repeated. Roger? His voice was barely a whisper. What happened? It is hard to say exactly. Michael began to feel his strength slowly returning to him. I need to rest to get my strength back. Michael, I have discovered the reason why we couldn't destroy the place right out of the gate. We are on to chapter 5. Watery Escape. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna do something really quick. Up. Okay. Holy shit. Wow. This is going a lot smoother than I expected for some reason. I thought I would go into stumble a lot more and be hesitant as I read, but the more I read, the more I want to share. But the way that it's written, it's meant to only show uh, a bit of like the rule of the gates of the mind and show the danger of it and what they're capable of. Because, like I didn't say, sure, this is told to Cornelius uh, whenever his dad goes on a business trip, and so this is their way of telling a story with underlying hints of danger and warnings of how dangerous the gate can be and how fragile they are. But of course, this is the darker version. This is the truer version. Um, the one that Cornelius is told, the very first version of this story, I don't think we'll ever see the light of day. I don't think it will. I think I'm going to keep that one private. It is mentioned when we are with Cornelius, but I think the entire story that will remain private. So, at least for now. But anyway, oh, my shoulder popped. All right, I'm gonna do this. I'm pretty sure my mic is loud, but I'm going to turn it up just a tad, just in case I'm not catching my lower registers. I don't want to be right up next to it. I want to be kind of back here, so I can kind of move and stuff. I want to actually full on range of motion, but if I get into it, I have to move the word up to be able to read it, and it's like, oh damn it. So I'm just kind of stuck in kind of one spot, but it's working because I have it in a larger print, so I'm not reading like the 12 font, so it's a bigger print. So, but anyway, we're on to chapter 4. Watery escape. Escape. All right, here we go. I hear something outside. The day that Michael and Roger called forth lost straight onto this plain, Emily had gone over the fence about an hour and a half before. She was there pretending to be in the field of wildflowers, when suddenly the sun and open green land were gone, and she found herself laying on the hard stone floor in the stone corridor. What caused Emily to break down when she told this again was the fact that her family lived across the street from Michael and Roger, and neither of them had heard of her, nor heard that she'd gone missing. Both, well, Roger had held her as she cried on his shoulder. Roger and Michael shared a sad look. Michael still weak and in pain. Emily, do you want to hear about where the play came from? The excitement of finding another potential gate wielder. Michael couldn't help himself. Emily looked through the door at Michael and mutely nodded. There is, well, we call it a knack, but it's the ability to enter the gates of the mind By having this knack, one can really enter the pretend world. What you can see in your mind eye, you can physically enter. Are you following? Yes. She breathed, shocked at herself as she was able to believe what she was hearing. And she nor the boy doubted that it was easy to believe. If for the fact they were standing, if for the fact of where they stood. It is not easy, and there are rules that must be followed. Once inside the gate, Michael goes on, but is extremely tired. The first thing is get a clear picture of said pretend world. After after that, it gets tricky. As you believe it to be real, you must push away all thoughts of how it cannot be. Know in your mind, feel it in your heart, and what you have. The gate should appear before you. Michael finished and closed his eyes in pure enfeeblement. Michael, buddy, stay awake, Roger says. Roger, please. Michael spoke with his eyes still closed. Cedric caused something inside me to stir, and it drained me trying to hide. He knows my name and knows other things. But I am useless in this state. Roger knew that Michael was right. Okay. Just until we find a way to break you out. Michael was already asleep. Roger looked at Emily. We need to find the dungeon master. Emily nodded and they started off. While in the gates of the mind, one must never use real names, or meant to control the Zalia that come out in any said gate. The reason behind this is gates of the mind are meant to be an escape from the real plane, and they can easily be tainted as they are fragile, and as fragile as they are, we can easily be lost. We can easily get lost within them, tainting us as well if we overstay our welcome in these special places. Emily, out of confusion, asked, well, if they're meant to be an escape, why do we have to be another person? Roger smiled. He had asked Michael the very same thing when he was introducing this to him. The Zalia allows the purity of the world to remain. You, as the host, can suggest ideas to them, but you hear, see, and feel as if they do. The only time you should come forth is to call upon the gate to the real plane. Emily nodded slowly, kind of understanding. It would take a while to see and understand. It did me. Once you get it, Roger just smiled. There came a primal scream that was heard throughout the dungeon. Roger and Emily were frozen momentarily in fear at the scream watch over them like a cold wave. It's the dungeon master, Emily whispered. Let's find a place to hide and hopefully he'll pass by, so we can nick the keys. Roger says, taking her by the hand and leading her in a run down the corridor and around the corner. So now we've switched point of views. We are now with Michael. Go! Oh, I dropped it. Don't forget to donate if you guys pop in. I can't see chat because, like an idiot, I changed my setup and I have chat readily available. So I can't see if anybody's chatting. But as you're listening, if you want to donate, please do. It'll help out other people, making sure they get meals in time of crises. And this campaign will stay open until I think it will. I think this event ends in at the end of December, so it'll stay open until then. But yeah, but any amount helps, and you're just adding to the 6 million that is already cured for this fundraiser. So, all right, let's get back into it. We are now with Michael now. It's always nervous starting, and then once I start, I just kind of go into the flow. So. Michael awoke with a start and painfully pulled his wrist free of the bands of the binds, holding up his free hand in front of him, in front of his face in the dim moonlight. The ropes had cut into his wrist and were now bleeding. The back of his right hand was stiff with drying blood. He laid fully on his back, with his hand resting on his chest, deeply breathing. He knows my name, Michael. Michael thought. Michael thought. And what else did he know? That probably that probably might have killed me, whatever we're trying to hide from Cendric. He wished it had, but then Roger would be alone. What could he do to make it so he could end this life without resorting to the last solution? Mike, you are creative enough. He heard Roger's voice echo in his head. I am. When it comes to having fun, not life or death situations, Michael whispered to himself. You have to be creative in this situation. A distorted voice spoke within him. Within. Michael sat up, startled by the voice. Not only that, he now had a way to bring the plate down. Reestablishing his feet, facing the door, he looked down with eyes closed. I'm sorry. He looked up, eyes still closed, and raised his hand to the right set angles, which he called forth the power. And the rich voice came again. I request a key for the door which keep me imprisoned. I ask because time is short, and the faster I am out, the sooner I can put an end to Cendric and Lost Trail. Michael felt a stab of guilt. He was abusing the power of the mind. Yeah, it being a life or death situation, he couldn't wait for Roger or someone else to open the door. Opening his eyes at the sound of the door unlocking, he pushed the heavy door open. There was a key in the door, and no one else around. He nodded and ran to his left, along the stone corridor, turning right, and halted. He heard the sound of rapidly approaching clanging metal, starting to back up and stumbling over his own feet. Hey, how'd you get out? A jarring breath voice called. Michael corrected himself and ran in the other direction. After the pause, we are back with Emily and Roger. That one came out kind of fast. I do apologize for that one. Uh, Roger and Emily were huddled in a little alcove, hands held tight, waiting for a pair of footsteps to pass before they would follow. Roger, Emily whispered. What? I'm scared. Emily isn't scared about the current situation. It is the fear of what comes when they get out of here and back over the fence. Her family had written her off. She was scared of what was next for her. Roger put his arm protectively about her shoulders. Roger wasn't going to bring this up around Michael, as he had a well enough family. He needed to act before it was too late. If we get out of here, do you want to run away with me? Emily was surprised and very confused by this question. What? Roger realized he had some explaining to do, which there was no time. He took both of her hands in the dim light. My parents are scared of me because they saw Michael and I disappear into a gate. Since then, I have maintained my friendship with Michael a secret. I have been thinking about this for a while. I'm just not sure how to tell Michael. There's no use in hiding. The voice comes again, this time really, really close. Jump back to Michael now. Or on like scene 3. Michael's heavy legs skidded around yet another corner, rebounded off the wall, glanced over his shoulder, and tripped over a stone set 2 inches higher than the other. He fell hard, ripping skin from the heel of his hand and ripping holes in the jeans. A soft cry escaped from his lips and was slow to get up, when a pair of arms wrapped around him and pulled him. Michael started to fight. Michael, it's okay. Roger's voice sounded in his ear. Roger? Michael exhaled. Yeah, how'd you get out? A stroke of luck. How about finding a way out? No. I know you are near, the dungeon master shouted, nearly upon their hiding spot. The 3 huddled as far back as they could to be concealed by the dark. The single stone that tripped Michael caught his eye. In a moment of faith and desperation, he leapt forward. He leapt from hiding, and with a closed fist, slammed it down on the stone. Michael, Roger and Emily shouted. The stone depressed under his fist as he looked to her right, seeing the dungeon master, when his chain hit the stone floor as the alcove gave way. As the floor of the alcove gave way. They splashed into water several feet below. Roger, Emily? Michael called, surfacing the pitch darkness, and was aware of the taste of blood in his mouth, adding to the prickling hands and above all, his wounded heart. To his left, someone surfaced, spluttering. Raj? It was Emily. Michael voiced. Before the coldness of fear could grip Emily, Roger surfaced right in front of Michael. Roger? Emily reached out for his hand. You two okay? Michael asked. Yeah, but what now? Roger questioned. Swim and feel for a wall, a ledge, or an opening, Michael said, starting to swim to his left. But I can't see anything, Emily said. It's not a race, Roger said. Going straight, slowly. Oh, go straight, slowly. Michael went to the Roger went to the right. Roger got 7 strokes to the right when he was dragged underwater. And now we are at chapter 6, New Law. I do apologize when I tend to read fast. I tend to get names mixed up. I hit my limit for reading. Shit. We're almost done. Things are starting to pick up, so I'm trying to read a bit faster. I'm trying not to, but it's just you get into that feel of what's going on, the tense of the situation. You want to read fast to get through it, but oh shit. Crap total. I just hope yeah. I hope you like hear it and I hope you guys are enjoying it. That's always my fear of you not being able to hear everything I'm saying. I'm trying to be as clear as I can and trying to get into character, but I tend to lose the clearness if I do get into character, so that's why I haven't been changing very much into character, but uh okay. I believe I believe there's only 9 chapters. We're on 6. We have a few left. And number 7 really short, so all right. And there is something that's adding a bit different to the for this by standing. I'm also had planted myself in a spot here. I'm standing on a soft, so I don't want to walk off that because I will trip and fall because I'm focused on other things. But hey, no. So not to change stuff up when you're streaming. So, but yeah. So let's get back into it. Chapter 6, New Law. Emily and Roger were stand. Emily and Michael were standing in a deep, narrow canyon after being dragged underwater and launched out of a pipe into their own small pools that dot the bottom of the canyon. They see Roger briefly when he is spit out and splashed into a pool to the right and two down. Michael doesn't like how Roger hit the water like a stone being thrown. Michael hurried over and dove in. Michael! Emily called after him in surprise and worry. Michael was able to catch Roger before he hit the bottom of the pool, using the side to propel him upward as fast as he could. Reaching the top, Emily was there to help pull Roger onto the bank, dragging him by the shoulders. Michael saw blood in the water, and Emily saw the deep gash across Roger's back. We should have put a scene Emily sighed. Michael climbed out. Roger, come on, wake up, Michael said, gently hitting the cheek with his left hand. Roger came to with a scream of pain. The scream echoed throughout the canyon. A wall of rock dust falling to the ground and wafted around him. Michael, Roger, shh, Michael said, suppressing a cough. Please, buddy, I know it hurts, but you must be quiet. How did this happen? Emily asked in panic. There must have been something sharp in the pipe that cut it back, Michael theorized. Roger judged quiet to a whimper, and with arched his back as he laid in Emily's arms. Michael, it hurts really bad, he groaned. I know. Michael looked about, running his left hand through his long wet hair, examining the side of the canyon. It seemed to be only 10 feet in height, and there were plenty of notches in aid to climb. Michael dropped to a crouch beside Roger and Emily. Roger, Emily, do you two think you can climb? It will be difficult, Roger grunted, having found a position that provided him with the least amount of discomfort to his back. Now Emily was just sitting next to him. I can climb no problem with bare feet, but I don't think your hands will allow you to climb. Emily, oh, do you think your hand will allow you to climb? Emily said, glancing at Michael's hand and wrists. Michael grimaced while he clenched his right hand into a fist. I'll manage. We shouldn't linger here long. They are about to know where that water chamber leads, Roger said. Yeah, you're right. Roger said. Michael said and glanced down, staring at his right hand, and peeled the bandana off the cut. Emily cringed when Michael removed it. His skin was sticking to the bandana. I don't think you should do that, Emily said. It's going to pull off my skin when I start climbing. He flexed his hand with ease, with wincing, but winced in pain. I don't think that climbing is a good idea. Maybe we should find another way. Michael sighed. We can't be wasting time in order to do the alternate solution. Roger sat up, eyes welled with tears both in pain and in great relief. What have you come up with? Ugh. Sorry, I have an air bubble on my chest and it caused my voice to crack. What have you come up? What have you come up with? I need to find the right words, and I need to be able to see the castle, and with a lot of concentration, I might be able to install a safety switch, as it were. A new law must be laid out to keep Cedric at bay. But I will do this with bleh, I will do this with just a small connection to the main gate as possible. Michael paused, exhaling deeply. I don't know what sort of state I'll be in. Emily looked at them lost. What do you mean connection? And what is the main gate? Depending on who you ask. Like me and my mom, we believe that before you enter your personal gate, you definitely pass through the main gate. It acts as an entrance to the space where these mind gates are procured and kept. Thus, you didn't energy as well as your own. I don't know how, but I know to negate. I need to negate as much contact with it to preserve it. I know now. Is that possible? I don't know, but I need to try. Michael explained and added in mind to make up for breaking the rules. Sorry, I had a call come in from a uh, doctor. They hung up. Uh, Emily continued to look at Michael with wide eyes, full of confusing yet curious wonder. Michael looked at Roger, who just shrugged, making himself wince. Why must you create this safety switch? What do you know? What do you feel? Roger interrogated. After what Cedric said and did, I guess he had barriers and stuff to aid him and protect him. And then he then looked at Roger squarely. I had planned to run away after this, no matter what happened. I lied and betrayed my mom. If she find out, even if she never find out, I would never escape that guilt. And Emily, your life has been changed as well, and I'm sorry. Michael blurted out. He was hurrying too much, and the floodgates had opened. Roger was staring mouth agape, and Roger and Michael were waiting for the shock to clear. Emily was looking frantically at Roger. Michael now looked curiously his way. I was going to run away as well, Roger admitted, feeling a huge weight lift off his shoulders. Not sure when or where. I can't handle my parents looking at me as if I'm going to put a spell on them. He slung his arm around Emily's shoulder and smiled. We can all go together. Michael smiled and nodded. All right, well, let's get up this wall. Talk. Okay, so we've reached the end of that scene. We're not now at scene one, so that's in time a bit. That chat was all over the place, and I do apologize. Alright, good. The boy learned that Emily was a world-class climber. She was in bare feet. She was barefooted too. She scaled the wall above them. Roger and Michael were not fit to climb, so they were taking it slow. Smiles were on their faces as they watched and listened to Emily laugh like an excited child. Being trapped in the dungeon allowed her energy and skill, allowed her energy to be bottled up, skill go unused. Emily loved to climb and was now afraid to do it, and on one of the best walls yet. Coming to the top, they stepped up onto a 4 foot wide edge that ran to the left and right until connected, forming a wide circle. There was a wide moat below them. Then a small stretch of storage of forest before the castle. The castle was a magnificent piece of work. It was not like a castle out of any book they have ever read. The glistening white stone with thin strand of emerald and crimson flowing in the white like an abstract painting, able to render beauty and fear. Michael walked to the edge and looked at the castle. It was not the castle he created. He had said there was to be a castle of great importance, great and desolate, but beautiful in its own way. But the dungeons are to be lit as if in moonlight. Roger, look! Emily pointed at the tree line. There was movement. Where there was movement. Michael, they are upon us. Roger said worriedly. I need a moment. You two go around and start down. Michael was still looking at the castle. We are doing this together. Roger said, standing beside him. We'll all be taught, Michael said. Then we will, Roger said. There was a spark in an eye that Michael saw. Okay. Michael shook out his arms and glanced down. The bondmen were over the moat and beginning to climb. His heart started to race, and the right words that had started to form were now becoming lost in the panic. He looked at the castle, took in a slow, deep breath, then cast his hand out, narrowing his eyes, and took another deep breath. With all the power he could find, make this unyielding, for this place is still mine. The creatures that reside within the castle walls, make it influence never leave the wall. Under the sky, I am in control. As soon as I or my companion or my compadres strike a mortal wound, may he, the castle, and the region of Lost Trail be lost from the plane by way of the ground. I and Michael Crawford set this law into immediate effect. A shadow fell upon them and across the land. Michael then collapsed in complete exhaustion. Look, Emily cried. They have stopped climbing. Michael smiled, breathing chest heaving breath. It worked, but its power is so very strong. The ground beneath them trembled. and there was a loud, angry cry that washed over them, knocking them all back a step and took their breath away. Whoa! Emily exclaimed. Michael, Roger said with panic in his voice, looking toward the castle. Ugh, what? Michael looked, not sure how much it could take. Battlements! Archers! Roger screamed. Jump! Roger yelled, staggering to his feet. What? Emily asked. No time to argue. Michael took them both by the hands. Now! Over the side they jumped, as the arrows flew. Seven. The Dark. All right. We're getting close to the end. It's only gonna get so much faster too. I can't believe I'm holding out. There was a part of me over the course of this week when I was getting ready to do this. There was a part of me where I'm like, I don't want to do it. I simply just don't want to do it. Get a lack of confidence and stuff. But it's like I want to hold true to what I said when I initially made the promise earlier this month. And so I'm glad I did. I'm not sure how many people are here or how many people will see this or if they care, but it's just something that it's a trial. And it makes all the more wild that it's for charity. So I love it. And you're gonna see much more of this in the coming years, so I'll get much better at it. I promise. This is just kind of a test run to see what I can do. I want to have the if I could have the story in a different format or in a different way, so I can see it as afar and be able to move around. Because I am kind of stagnant. I do apologize, but I don't know what to do. I mean, I know the story by heart. I've read it so many times. I've rewritten it, and I should be able to move with how it's being told and stuff. But I'm so nervous. So I think if I do it more, I'll get more confident with just moving with the words and getting into character. So, but anyway, hold on. I gotta stretch. Ugh. All right. Seven. The Dark. Now this you guys might have seen in one of the videos I posted. Not the one I did yesterday, but the one I did I think a week ago. I posted some of this stuff. So enter the dark, as we will from time and time again throughout darkness of night when all are sleeping. The blackness that hides within all of us, the ickiness of the lightning guilt that weigh us down throughout life, the unknown that lurks in the shadows of that lurks in the shadows or what will be in front of your eye when you come out of the void behind closed eyes. And of course, the dark of the future. Whatever darkness is to you, remember that fear of it will wreak havoc. You can say that it wants you to fear. In the depths of the dirty moat, being rained on by arrows embodied bondmen, holding hand waiting. After a mental count to 10, Roger started kicking the surface. Roger and Emily, with their free arms, were pushing massive arrows aside. Surfacing, Michael would grab from by the front of his shirt and wrench out of the water and thrown onto the bank. Michael! Roger yelled. Adrenaline kicked in, and Michael turned to see Cedric face pulsed with anger. Youngling, what did you do? Cedric demanded. What do you mean? Michael tried to get up, but Cedric stepped on the chest. Tell me what power you have that allowed you to trap my power in my own castle. Michael smiled innocently. I have no power. I am just a kid. Don't play. Tell me or I will lay you in the earth. Cedric threatened. Michael unleashed. As much as you want to slay me, you won't, because I hold something you desperately want. I will be a thorn in your side that you simply can't pull out. Cedric grabbed him by the throat. I will also be a thorn in your side, always thinking of when I will come for you. Let him go, Emily yelled, having just managed to climb onto the money bank. Coming closer, and I shall strangle him, Cedric warned. Emily stopped and watched. Cedric smiled and began to squeeze. Michael was throwing punches in Cedric's face and chest to no avail. Michael, already weakened state, started feeling heavy, and his heartbeat pounded loudly in his ears. Cedric leaned forward and whispered, Don't think that you're alive without flaws. Roger and Emily watched in horror as Michael's eyes closed and he lay still on the ground. No! He isn't dead. Cedric moved away from Michael, slapped his hands together. As for you two, a cloud will be following you. He lunged at them. Chapter 8, Locked Gift. All right. Chapter 8, Locked Gift. Roger, Emily, are you okay? Emily, bleh. Michael asked in a harsh voice. After waking up back in the moonlit dungeon. Yeah, what about you? Roger asked. Notification is blocking my words. Okay. Yeah, what about you? Roger asked. His back was burning. Michael coughed. There was an uncomfortable tickle in his throat. I'll be fine. Michael once again was going to break the rules for what he hoped was the last time. I don't know how much. Uh, I kind of just went off course. I don't know how much time we have, but I am going to call forth two daggers for you two to conceal, and at the right moment use them to slay Cynric. What about you? Emily asked. Cynric will be focused on me. When blood flows from a fatal wound, we must clear it out from the castle into the fence. Michael laid out the plan. Roger and Emily nodded. Michael slowly stood up and cleared his throat as best he could, hoping the harshness wouldn't affect the summoning. Hand up, eye closed, and breathing deeply, the sweeping motion started as he began speaking, and hand drawing and dipping as if catching power being spoken. From the gate, from the main gate to my hand, I asked for two daggers, black at night with hints of moonlight, missed by a quick glance, like a flash of moonlight before the eyes of the one about to be slain. The harshness in his voice was no longer there. It gave to the rich voice. The daggers were suspended before Michael. Emily looked past the dagger and stared at Michael. What was that? It is something else that can be done with the mind gates. Michael spoke with a harshness again. No, the voice, Emily said in French. Roger panicked and looked at Emily. What voice? Michael asked, confused. Roger. Emily was trying to get his help aside his face. Emily clasped her hand over her mouth, looked worried. I'm sorry. What? Michael asked, now extremely confused and slightly worried. It is what my mom calls a locked gift. My little brother Alexander had a locked gift of dance. He had only two, and his balance is amazing and a graceful in his step. However, it is to be pursued by only him. What the heart truly desires. My parents planned to put him in sports until he said he wanted to dance. As Emily explained this, she suddenly realized why her parents didn't care to look for her. Only the people who are touched with the ability to go far in life have this. Much like to see the gate, one must have a knack. I think my parents saw me as ordinary, so my disappearance was okay for them. She finished with a solemn acceptance. Look at me. Emily looked at Roger with tears. Your locked gift is the gate. Trust me. You are extraordinary. You have seen what the gate can do, and soon you will be able to do it and enter them yourself. Roger said, trying his best to ease your pain. How do you know? Emily asked. Michael grabbed one of the daggers in the left hand. Can you see it? You can see it, yes? Yes. Then the knack is yours. You can believe the unbelievable. Emily, My older brother and dad wouldn't be able to see this. You can do something that is slowly disappearing from the world. Emily, Michael placed the hilt of the dagger in her hand. Do not fear. Embrace it. Try it. Paint a picture in your mind for you alone. Emily closed her eyes and pictured her endless field of wildflowers, letting all thing that took away from embracing what isn't possible roll away. Taking a few breaths, she opened her eyes. Before her stood an iron gate, surrounded by yellow and purple flames. Emily gasped. Roger grabbed her hand. Don't enter now. It is not the right place for it. He was smiling. To make it disappear, think of the real plane. Michael said. Can you guys see it too? She asked in a low voice. To keep the gate there? No. Because it is your gate and you didn't give permission, Roger says. A loud noise from outside the door caused Emily to lose the gate, which upset her to a greater degree than she expected. Hide the daggers, Michael whispered. Emily hid her in a pocket in her overalls, a deep pocket in her overalls. And Emily and Roger hid in the waistband of his pants. In time before the dungeon master's face appeared at the door. A pale face showing a crooked smile of rotting teeth. You two stand clear. Michael, you're coming with me. Michael nodded to Roger and Emily to follow the orders. It's okay. Roger and Emily leaned back against the wall. There was an audible click. Then the door would open, and Michael would grab out the shirt and pull it out, and the door was shut and locked again. It happened so fast that even if Emily and Roger wanted to attack, it wouldn't have mattered. Michael shouted in pain when the back of the dungeon master's hand brushed against. Oh, oops, my bad. I jumped forward. Michael shouted in pain when the back of his right hand brushed against the master's coarse clothing. Michael would led up the ramp, entering the throne room on the left side behind the columns. Michael was handed over to a knight and led the rest of the way to center. Chapter 9. Earth upon the candlelit darkness. You're entering the final chapter. I know this may be confusing and all over the place, but believe me, it all is there for a reason. This story is massive, and trying to find a way to tell it in a way that makes sense is really hard to do without having the full story intact. But I think I can deliver at least the gist of what's going on. At least I hope so. We have sirens outside. Oh god. Oh my god, 4 hours. Well, 5 since I started stream, but 4 since I started. Since I What are all right? Let's start the final chapter. And see, and with this is prompting me to just make sure that I'm getting everything right when I write it next and do the actual complete story. So, all right, the final chapter, chapter 9, curse upon the candlelit darkness. This is going to be hard for me to keep it kind of down because it's a fast moving chapter. So I'll try my best. I'm sorry if I get caught up with words. I'm just moving fast because it's part of the story. So I do apologize. I will attempt to keep myself kind of stable. Okay. Michael was not just bound with his hand behind his back. He was chained to with it back against one of the pillars in a wide stance. Now, youngling, I'm going to make the offer one last time. Cendric said, pacing a hole in the carpet. You're wasting your breath, Michael said without a second thought. I'm not going to rule by your side. Cendric chuckled. He approached him. You are stubborn and asking for pain as well. What about your family, in particular, your mother? Michael glared. You leave them out of this. Oh, I intend to. You have done it. You have done it yourself already. Just remember that guilt will follow you. Cendric turned and shouted, Bring the other two. Let them go. Michael yelled to Cendric back. Shut it. Cendric snapped, not turned around. Michael pulled against the chain, which there would not much give. His feet were planted in a wide stance. Tears rolled down his cheeks as the heavy metal dug painfully into an injured wrist. Michael heard Roger scream and saw him come up the ramp airborne and crash ungracefully to the floor. Emily was running to him. Cendric, you leave them alone. You're scrapping with me, Michael yelled. Close the ramp, and all of you leave. Cendric ordered to the bondman. I'll be fine. The cold, sinister voice filled the high-domed throne room. Roger and Emily made their way over to Michael. All of them wearing the same look of desperation. Don't you dare touch that chain, Cendric yelled. He had turned with his sword drawn, a long sword, a hilt of gold swirling with a strand of crimson and emerald. Roger and Emily turned to face him. Once seeing the sword, they instinctively went to pull the daggers. Don't pull them out just yet, Michael whispered. They must keep the element of surprise. Michael's friend, I heed you bear witness to this. If you intervene, I shall slay. Roger and Emily stood in front of Michael's hand held tight. Now, Michael, it is time to listen. Since you have declined my offer. He started forward. I set a curse upon the gates. As for you, thou shalt watch helplessly death and loss. Ruby will fall from the first fatal flow, then never again. He declared and dashed forward. Now, Emily, Now, Emily, we must not let him get to Michael, Roger yelled, drawing his dagger. Release me so that I may help, Michael yelled. Roger clashed blade with Cedric with such intensity that Cedric stepped back, or backstepped. Emily hurried around the pillar to try to free Michael. The chain that held Michael's wrist was hooked to another and was 2 feet out of her reach. She looked around for something to stand on. All Michael could do was watch Roger, and the sword waltz keep Cedric back. But Roger was tiring out quickly. Roger kicked Cedric in the chest. Cedric stumbled, but caught Roger's foot and threw him nearly the length of the throne room. Roger! Michael yelled, then looked back at Cedric. Well, looks like you shall be cursed. Roger jumped forward, leading with his sword. Emily! Michael screamed. The tip of Cedric's sword mere inches from Michael's chest when Emily blocked it off to the left and threw her body into Cedric. He dropped the sword, trying to maintain a balance, to no avail, and he ended up sprawled on the ground. Emily took up the heavy sword and with all her might swung it at the chain. Michael's left arm falls free from the shackle, with a shackle with a small amount of chain hanging. The rest trailed behind his right. Emily gave him the sword and they stood ready. Go see to Roger, Michael told Emily. He will only want me right here, Emily countered. Michael couldn't help but smile at that and silently thought of how right she was. Cedric got back to his feet laughing with it back to them. Michael, move! Michael, move! Roger yelled from where he still laid. He had concealed the dagger. Emily, go! Michael spun back down the pillar at Emily. As Emily ran to the other side, she threw her dagger. Emily ran to the other side of the room as she threw her dagger. Ah! Senator screamed as the dagger stuck him in the side. No! Roger, or Michael, we need to go. Roger yelled on his feet again. Yes, Michael said, running to Roger and the exit. Emily looked over her shoulder as she ran. Michael, flick your right wrist. Quickly. He does, but Cedric caught the chain on the fly and pulled. Michael had wrenched backward off his feet. The sword fell from his hand and breath leave his lungs when he hit the ground. Cedric was pulling Michael toward him as fast as he could. Roger threw his dagger and stabbed Cedric in the chest, but he did not stop. Emily grabbed the sword and sprinted. No! Michael yelled as Cedric was upon him. Emily reached them and drove the sword into Cedric's back. Roger got there and helped move Cedric's body off Michael. Roger, Michael gasped. Roger looked at Michael and dropped to his knees. No. The dagger was buried in Michael's abdomen. It's all right, Michael gasped. We must. Michael! Roger called as Michael closed his eyes and released a final chest-heaving breath. Roger pulled the dagger free from his friend's body. Blood flowed. The room around them started to rumble. Roger and Emily make no attempt to clear it out. Pick him up and run! A voice, a voice filled both Roger and Emily's mind. They looked at each other, confused, but followed its advice. Emily cut the chain with a bloodstained sword and picked up Michael in a fireman carry. Let's go. Out of the crumbling, out of the crumbling, out of the crumbling castle, and into the forest that was starting to steep into the ground. Emily's leg gave in as she fell, spilling Michael's lifeless body to the ground. And Roger went to her crying, Roger, we did all we could. She said, her eyes wide and wet. I know, but Roger cut himself off and took her in his arms. You guys all right? A tired voice said. Roger and Emily looked to where Michael had fallen, and he was sitting up. The wounded adamant would heal, save for a scar to the right of the belly button. Michael! They moved to embrace him. Come on, let's leave this place, Michael said. Night had fallen, and they struggled over the fence and up the slope, wishing that there were beds waiting for them. They had only each other for warmth and comfort. Now, in the darkness of the world. When they turned onto Dunn Drive, they stopped in their tracks. The street was littered with trash, open suitcases with clothes spilling out of them. Doors of homes stood open to the stillness. What happened here? Roger asked, aloud. So tired he collapsed to the ground. Emily followed in silence and just laid her head on his shoulder. Michael dropped to his knees. Lost trail is what happened. What happened here? It bordered across the fence. He felt sick and vomited to the ground. So that was The Curse, the bedtime story from Gate to the Mind. I really hope that translated good. I don't know. I hope so. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I cannot wait for the rest of the story to be ready for you guys to enjoy as well. But that was just a little insight onto that little story. I've been working on this for 14 years, and I just opened it to the world. So it's nerve-wracking, but it's so cool. Get it? It's one of my favorites that I've written, and I hope you guys enjoyed it and will enjoy it when the rest of the story comes out. And for right now, I think I'm gonna call it a day. I need to sit down. I need to go check on my cats. But the donation will be open until the end of the year. And I appreciate you guys coming and watching, listening. And remember to donate to Thank Miss for Central World Kitchen to provide meals to people who are in crisis and cannot achieve food on their own. So, without any further ado, I thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next stream and or video. Have a nice night, guys. Thank you for watching.